Career. His first big break was on Mighty Joe Young in 1949. It was another film about a gorilla. Ray designed and built the model of the ape. It was only 12 inches high, but on screen it looked huge, and Ray was responsible for every move Joe made. But what Ray longed to do was to make films that brought legends and fairy tales to life.
I learned to draw and put my ideas on paper, and they helped to show what shape the film will take.
It was his incredibly detailed drawings that persuaded producers to let Ray make the films he wanted, like the classic 1963 Jason and the Argonauts. And, like his drawings, his models were meticulous.
This skeleton, of course, has every joint in miniature that a real skeleton would have. And so you can get the flexibility and the movements that people can associate with the human form. Made of steel and the ball and socket joints.
But it was still all done by moving the models frame by frame.
It's the basic principle of animation of a cartoon. Instead of using flat drawings, you use a single model, and then each frame of film, of course, you move it and take a picture, move it and take a picture. And that is what's called Dynamation.
Ray's whole secret was to add his models to previously filmed sequences with real-life actors, and he made sure his models' movements exactly matched those of the actors.
We photograph the live characters first, and then reduce them on a little projection screen behind the model, and then animate the model to fit the movements of the actors. So I'm actually a people shrinker. Kill them all! The basic skeleton sequence was rehearsed many times, of course, and we had stuntmen portraying each skeleton. And then the final piece of film they would have to shadow box. And that was the piece of film that I would inject the skeletons in.
The techniques that Ray perfected went on to inspire people like Wallace and Gromit's creator, Nick Park.
If you watch just the way those skeletons move, just the way they sweep with their swords, and the fact that they're always standing, the way they run and then they stop, and then they're swaying like this all the time. I mean, that is quite hard to get, even with, you know, computer-aided technology. It's hard to find an animator that can put that kind of life into a creature.
But Ray didn't just give his creatures life, he also gave them real personalities.
I'm always grateful that at one time I thought I wanted to be an actor, and I studied at the Los Angeles Junior College. I took a course, a year's course in acting technique, and I'm always grateful for that because I can act through my models. I know when I was doing Mighty Joe Young, I felt that I should live off celery and parsley and carrots just to feel what a gorilla would act like, you know. I did all of the animation myself. So the pictures become very personal to me. They're not just something that you do a little part. And it's rather amusing today to see on the screen after the film is finished, 80 people listed on the credits of special effects, in which I had to do all by myself.
My aim was to make films like Ray Harryhausen. You know, that he was my biggest influence. The gift that Ray has given us, or given me personally, is a love of storytelling and bringing what can only exist in the imagination, you know, giving it a reality and, you know, putting it on, giving it flesh and putting it on screen.
Quite simply, Ray's the best ever, a pioneer who opened up a whole new world of movie magic. It's enough to make even Mighty Joe Young beat his chest with pride.
And the wizard is here with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ray Harryhausen. Hello. You know, it just brings us back in time, Ray. People of our age, we were weaned since we were knee-high to cricket on your sort of films. I mean, did you go along and watch them in theatres to gauge audience reaction at the time?
Very much so. Every time we made a picture, we tried to go to the initial previews because we felt that we wanted to see the reaction to things that we didn't quite know how people would react. So we studied the audience very carefully, particularly in the early film.
And you decide that these models are to have a personality, a character. How do you actually do that?
Well, actually, you study lizards. If you happen to be doing a dinosaur, I went to the zoo quite often to study the elephant when I had an elephant fight with Guanji in one of our films. And we sent a man to the Chicago Zoo to photograph a gorilla, a guy, I think he was called. And unfortunately, all he did was walk across the screen and sit down and pick his nose, which wasn't very conducive to
yes, you didn't
what we had in the film.
On the screen, no.
But you do make a lot of mythological creatures. How do you know what they look like, or is it your interpretation of them?
Well, one has to interpret them, of course. I do a great deal of research in the museums, particularly if it's a dinosaur. But if it's Greek mythology, for example, Medusa in Clash of the Titans, I wanted to make a Medusa that was completely different than anything that had been seen. You have to have snakes in her hair, naturally. So I designed her with a serpentine body and a rattlesnake tail, and created a completely new, different Medusa.
Ray, when you watch movies today, I mean, do you reconcile yourself to the fact that perhaps your work is the work of movies of yesteryear? Do you think there is room for it today?
Oh yes, absolutely. As I said before, there's room for every kind of media, any kind of device to entertain the public.
Well, thank you for the years that you have entertained us on the big screen and indeed the small screen. Ladies and gentlemen, Ray Harryhausen.